It's Real Fit Radio with B
and J.LOU.
If this is your first time listening, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah. We in here.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Isn't that what you usually say?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Yeah. I was waiting for it. You just said welcome back.
It's all right.
Okay, welcome back. Well, we're back and we're better.
Absolutely.
Did you hear I put that? The vocals back and we're better. Better.
Sound like you said pedal.
Anyway, so it's a lot going on in the world right now. This heat wave is still getting us, amongst other things. But I kind of don't even want to talk about all the politics. That's why I said there's a lot going on in the world. You guys know we're jumping right into the meat and potatoes of this. What about the children? What about the children? Let me give you guys a backstory to this.
Yeah, because that's a real open statement, which is cool, because if that was the tagline, I'd be like, what they mean, what about the children?
Yeah, what about the freaking kids? Backstory. So Lou sends me a clothing line that has made clothes for adults. Now they're making them for kids. But the kind of clothes they are, it's like these little girls have on sunglasses with mini skirts and half tops and the poses there and they like looking back. It's like they just literally have little girls doing the exact
little baby thoughts.
Yeah, like they're doing the same poses as the grown women, but they look like something you see if you were watching a show and it was like, it sounds so bad, but it's like they on the stroll, the prostitutes. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. And it's a brand that's doing this that a lot of people are, what is it called? Brand ambassadors for. Mm-hmm. They get paid to advertise for this company on Instagram. You see it a lot. Some artists, rappers that actually have a clothing line within this brand. And I'm saying that because I don't even want to give them a plug like that. It's just crazy.
Now your eyes are going to go over there. Yeah, we can't afford to give them extra eyes.
Yeah, so that's the backstory. He sends me this. I'm like, whoa. And I started thinking about all the other stuff. To add with that, I showed him and also I shared with our son and daughter that I've been seeing, I don't know if it's a trend, but children are getting whoopings on Instagram. Like they're getting recorded. It's like a IGTV. You can just see a kid getting thrown around or getting disciplined, some sort of discipline. They could be getting whooped with a belt. Somebody's hitting them because they did something. They're getting whooped at school. I have seen at least 5 videos like that. And I haven't seen that before. Then, of course, sex trafficking, or back to that brand, over sexualization of children, like these are kids. Just the lack of concern. It's like kind of whatever when you start delving into their world, because I go right away to the younger generation, my connection to the youth through the kids. And it's like, what is this? And it's like, oh, Mom, that's always been on Instagram, or that's not anything new. So that to me, all these different little things that are going on and how they're desensitized to it. It's like, what about the children? What is going on with kids? I'm talking about 18, 19 on down. These are still young people that are affected, influenced by all this stuff going on. Why is this happening so frequently? I have never seen anything like it, and that's what we're talking about today. Just trying to dial in onto what is happening with the children.
All I can say is programming is a mother blank. Nah, seriously, programming has been around for ages, and for whatever reason, well, it's not even for whatever reason. The guy that posted that, I agree with him. They're trying to turn that into a normal thing to see. For me, it's not normal to see a little kid with a skirt that has a long side and a complete short, and you seeing the kids thigh like you went to a beach or something and they just got like a little split there.
That looked like club of thought. That looked like club
of thought.
Club
You got it right. Club of thought.
I meant club attire.
Club of thought. Yeah, she had it right the first time.
That was a tongue tie. I didn't mean to say that, but it looks like something you would see the girls in line, like maybe somebody going to a club, or I wouldn't wear it personally, but it's just like, why does a kid even have that? Why is that outfit even made for a child?
But to make it even worse, if I'm putting together a conspiracy theory, which I'm not real big on at all, but I think y'all brought this to my attention, what was it, a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, where you saw an article or something where they were supposed to be passing a law where it's okay as long as the teenager has consent to sexual acts and stuff like that.
I wouldn't even try to go into that because we read further into it and it was about actually making sure the LGBTQ community had the same rights as, I guess, heterosexuals. And I don't want to get into that because there's too many names over it and all that stuff.
Okay, well, here's the thing. That's why I said I think. I didn't say it was. So y'all don't have to quote me on that. I didn't have all the information. That's why I said I think. I'm not saying that's set in stone. But that right there, it's disheartening to see because it's like, at what point does the dollar not have more value than integrity? You know what I'm saying? It's, you so hell bent on making money to the point where it's like, we gonna even make a tire for the little kids too. And it's like, you know damn well who wears your brand, and all of them make thought-provoking music, pun intended. So it's just like, you gonna coin that with some kids too? Like, what kind of fuck shit is that? Like, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. And I'm not the judge and executioner, but I do have a sense of morality to the point where I'm not, I can't condone that, man. That don't even make sense to me. Like, there is no parent known alive, I don't care what ethnicity you are, you are not letting your kid walk out the house with what we seen on that Instagram. Then the pictures is what threw me, because he pointed it out. They're taking a picture. Girls, y'all know how y'all take them pictures where you look over your shoulder and you kind of got the little turn around, but it's your butt that's exposed. Why is a kid taking that type of picture to pose for those clothes?
But you said that
I'm trying to laugh to keep from being like on some like tangent shit right now. That's crazy.
Well, you said that nobody, but they are. I see little girls on there all the time. Not like that. They just got crazy with it. But I've seen where they dress, the little girl has on the skinny jeans and the off the shoulder top like her mom.
Right, I feel you. They not dressed like kids. It's something that somebody in their 20s would
and
be dressing
like. Or they have, or whatever, that style. Or they'll have the sandals on with the fur, with the little bag and the little shirt. They dress just like mommy. I'm not saying it's wrong. However somebody wants to do it. But I'm really big on a kid having their own identity and them kind of expressing themselves or figuring out what it is they like through their clothes, through music, whatever. I want them to have a clean slate. Like, do you like these socks? I don't want to duplicate me. I feel that same way even with males and juniors. I'm not going to even go into letting you have your own name. I'm just going to make you a junior. Somebody might be like, well, but why wouldn't they carry on the name? I'm like, no, I don't want to duplicate the juniors all the way down. Look at this. If your dad was Michael, then he named Michael Jr., then are you going to name your son Michael Jr.? And it's another Michael. Like, how does that work? The Michael Sr., Michael Jr., Michael the Third, Michael the Second, Michael the Fourth. It's like, oh my goodness. I would want that person to have their own identity. So I'm not for that either, but to each his own. So what they did is they took it a step further, because seeing that now, somebody's going to buy that outfit for the kid. They wouldn't have put it there if it wasn't a market for it. Yeah. They wouldn't have done it. So you said nobody, somebody is.
To add to that point, I do believe somebody will.
Oh, yeah. Obviously. And they're going to take pictures too.
For obvious reasons. But that's because the parents are so young. They kids themselves. I don't see nobody that's older that had kids. They kind of lived a little bit. I can't see them buying that for their kids. Like, this going to look cute on.
Listen, I don't put nothing past them.
I get
what you're saying.
I don't
put
believe
anything
in the sample size that it would be like that.
Listen, nothing, and that's why I said about the children. I didn't think that people would set up whole cameras to videotape me whipping you. How does that work? Hold on, let me get this camera right.
How do you keep your anger level up enough time to set it up?
I've seen people set up the camera and cry on the camera.
Yeah, I've
that's why I
heard
said,
that.
for me, specifically back to these children, when you set a camera up to discipline me, or you come to a school and someone's holding the camera while you go off on me, then you let the teacher know when I get home, like, it shouldn't even feel natural. I'm being recorded. Most of the time it's like, oh, I'm so mad with you, and you want to let them have it. You better wait till we get home. I'm going to tear your butt up. You know, I'm thinking like old school, like the grandmothers or your mom, they give you that pinch and you like, ooh, and it's like, when we get in the car, you trying not to get in the car like, ooh, let me stay in front of these people because you're not going to act up in front of these people. They are acting up, like, recorded. I saw a video where the girl was in a chair and it was her dad, but a stepmom. The stepmom was recording it and they were like interrogating her. Why'd you run away? You think you grown? You're not grown now that this camera's on you. And she jumped up and tried to run and they said, get her. He ran out the garage, grabbed her, threw her on the ground and back in the house and sat on her and was pinning her hands down. Yeah, you not bad now. And then she got kicked at one point. This was like her father and the stepmother. They were disciplining her because she either went somewhere or she did something. Another girl, mom was tearing her up. She recorded herself spreading her legs and doing her body, gyrating it sexually. And she had to be like maybe 7 or 8. She was sticking her tongue out. But what I saw when I looked at it is her, remember you said programmer, she was emulating what I've seen certain female artists do. Now, if you were to put that specific artist on the spot, she probably would say, I'm not a role model. Your kids shouldn't be listening to it. I'm sure everybody always gives this whole, don't look at me. But you understand that when they blast you in the world like that, whether it's on radio, whether it's commercials, whatever it is, people are going to see you. People are going to talk about you. People will emulate what they see. So that little girl, her mom was whooping her on camera. You wanted people to see you so bad, she was hitting her. I saw a boy get snatched up at school and cursed out. His mom was on the hunt, but she had her camera crewed her. So she was walking hands free, but the camera was like, ooh, he in there. Slow down, you moving too fast. So she made like record this. And I'm trying to understand, how does that work?
How does it help?
But how does it even work? As a mother, you already are going in to discipline. You're already frustrated by the act. I'm not saying that they didn't do things that warranted them not being disciplined in some way, or it's like, oh, it's a consequence for this, whatever it is. I'm not here to tell somebody how to discipline a child. The footage of it though, that right there to me is like, what?
That's gonna be there forever. You gonna be grown. Them kids gonna be grown and be known that they got 300,000 views for their mama or their dad walking in there on them like that.
Right, but then it funnels over into, I've never seen children commit suicide. I've never seen a 5-year-old hang themselves. Like, how do they know that? They kill themselves from being bullied. For a child to hang themselves, that's something you got to put together. And I'm saying that meaning as an adult, me tying a rope, affixing it to something, knowing I got to put this around my neck and stand on something and then jump. That in itself to me is like, whoa, a child has done that. Multiple cases where there are children that have committed suicide. But I'm looking at all the stuff. They have so much adult exposure and pressure. You got adult clothes, you getting whooped, you exposed to this music and this sexual stuff. It's like they little minds can't take it, and it's too much, and then it's like
understand what they taking in.
And suicide is not adult nor child. That's just a lot for anybody. But I'm just trying to figure out, how does it come up to that? Even the bullying, I've never seen anything like this coming up. You're getting recorded being bullied. It's almost like cell phones should not be allowed in schools. They taking everything else out of them. Why do I need 15 cameras? I'd rather just opt for we got one camera in this class, like how they have the police officers wearing the camera, body cam. Every classroom is recorded. Every classroom has a camera there, a camera there. We got the back, the side, the front view. Like in a building, no cell phone. You can leave it in your locker, whatever. You know, and somebody might be like, but if it's a school shooting, because we have to deal with that. So I'm trying to understand, at what point is someone looking at the whole setup? You said earlier, I don't buy into it. I don't know if it's conspiracy or what, but the children are under attack. It's a lot going on with kids. It's just like, wow, this is a lot. You know, suicide, sex trafficking. I don't even want to get into that. It's just like, you sex trafficking the kids? Not that you should be sex trafficking grown-ups, but these are babies. They're just little kids. I am on high alert and very open to not so much as an outright solution, because I don't think there is one. But just doing my part. You guys already know how we are, and the whole goal of this podcast, whether it's inspiring, impacting, or empowering. One, we want to empower you with this conversation if it wasn't already on your radar. And two, like some takeaways, some things that you can begin to do or just be aware of, not to even allow or partake in, because you might do it and not even know. My thoughts on the cell phone thing, I stand with that. The kids didn't have the luxury of having these cameras out in class. I think they had flip phone, and that was for me to contact them. Then it was a prepaid. Then it's like, okay, they're in high school now. They have phones. But even with that, I never heard like, oh my God, in class today, they recorded the substitute teacher. It was crazy. I think with their school, they didn't even allow like outside snacks. That was like, if you didn't get it here, you can't. So I'm just saying, for parents or just people, if you know people with children, if you know somebody and you close enough and you see them putting their kids in some of these clothes, be ready to deal with the blowback. I'd rather say something than not. You gonna put her in that cheetah mini skirt like that with the fitted bodysuit, the one piece? Oh, that's a big grown. You know, I don't know what kind of attention she's gonna garner in that. We have pedophiles. Why would you put her in something like that? I'm here for it. Pose the question with cell phones and stuff. I say even get involved and know what the school's policy is for recording in class, recording on campus. Do they have access to their cell phones freely? Because you don't know what someone can record for their pleasure that can hurt somebody else. And then the suicide thing, I just think having conversations, just kind of gauging where a child is. And again, if you don't have a child and you know someone that does, just take a little time out. I'm always about inserting myself. If you want to give an hour, or you want to start to mentor or be intentional with, hey, I'm going to come by just to check on you, or I pick something up for you at the store. I know you like these, and create a conversation through that drop off. Of course, you let their parents and stuff know. You don't just start doing this on your own, but let the parents know, I want to become more involved. I'm not saying we're going places. Someone come by, pick up things, or is it okay if I see stuff? I just want to be a part of their lives in a way, because I believe it takes a village, especially with all this stuff going on. So I'm not going to just say, what about the children? Let's help the children, whatever capacity we can, whatever child you might directly or indirectly come in contact with. If you don't have some of your own, just be intentional, because they're adulting. I hate that word, but they're adulting quick. I can't think of any other word. I mean, it's happening fast. Like, put this on. You doing this. You listening to this. This is what you're being exposed to. And now you have all these feelings and you don't know what it is. And then suicide is an option. I don't even know how they know that.
It's because of the exposure to other people doing it.
How do they see it? How does a 5-year-old know about suicide? How do they know about hanging themselves? Just take a minute to think about that. Even if they like, oh my gosh, my 5-year-old got into the medicine cabinet and they thought the pills were candy because they were colorful, and somehow they got the top off. That to me would be like, oh, an accidental overdose. I heard stuff coming up where it's like the gun wasn't locked up. A kid got a hold of it and they accidentally shot themselves or someone else. Those are accidents. These are full suicides. This is not even in 2020. These are things, like I said, it was just on my mind. All these different things that are happening with children. The whole hanging. If a kid just said, I jumped, that's shocking. Or if a child is thinking, I just want to be free from this, free like a bird. I'm just trying to make something up.
You said, how do they get to it? It's because of The way social media works, they get eyeballs based off trending things. And this has nothing to do with me condemning anybody. I'm just giving an observation. If we don't, as parents, create some form of censorship, and then on top of lack of censorship, because it's like, oh, well, they're well-rounded, they'll be okay with the phone and whatnot, and then they get on Instagram, they have a social media. Like, quiet as kept, you shouldn't even have no social media. What you got a social media for? You go to school every day, you gonna see them. Like, you, unless you becoming some kind of YouTube guru or something, and some of them are, respectfully, so I get that. But if you're not doing that, it's like, what's the point of it? And then when you do have it, depending on what's trending and what's happening in the world, and they hit the search bar and they see a kid that look like them, and because of this whole viral thing, sometimes I don't know if they doing it because those people are doing it, or it's because, ooh, this will get a lot of numbers, but they don't realize what's gonna happen when they do that. So it goes back to my original statement that I was thinking that you said out loud, which is, it's too much exposure for the mind at that age. The reason why you didn't see all that stuff when we was coming up was because we didn't have that much exposure to all that stuff. We had to go looking for it. It's right there in their face. Like, I wasn't looking for that brand and the dude to be talking about the little kids dressed in those type of clothes. It was right there. And this guy had several views on it, on that video. So it gets around. So if it got around to me and I wasn't even looking for it, other stuff can go around and kids aren't looking for it. The thing about it is, they won't look at a video unless it has X amount of views. So if it has 1 million views on it, no matter if it's positive, negative, whatever, the number intrigues the person to look at it. So it spreads even more. So the lack of censorship from social media and all these other places, and then on down to us, depending on how, you run your household, a lot of things can slip through the cracks that normally wouldn't slip through if those censorships were there. This is not like some band-aid solutions. That's the minimum that you can think about, is censorship. And I get it to a degree where you're trying to be as open as possible with this generation and the up and coming generation, because I've said it out my own mouth, because the information is there for them to search and look up and see all this stuff, the trends or whatnot, or this is going to make me popular on a whole different level. I'm pertaining to the one example you gave with the girl who was doing the pictures and the popping legs. And it's almost like this balance you have to find as a parent to have discussions and making sure that you explaining to your kid and to these kids that you want to be a good example for, to where you're in there and you're talking to them. Because if you leave them to their own devices, it ain't no telling what kind of thing they'll try to do just because it looks like that's what the trending thing is. And I'm not necessarily talking about the suicide thing, because that can happen for several reasons. I do remember one case where that kid knew exactly why they were doing that, and they explained it through a letter, I believe. So it's not always the case where it's like, oh, this will give me numbers. Another one, they didn't do a letter. They did a full-on video saying that they were going to do that, and they explained why, and then they proceeded to do it after that video. My thoughts has always been on the mental part. They're too young to be exposed to all that information before they actually understand it. Like, you can read something and know it, but that don't mean you actually understand it.
Your reading comprehension is like overload.
Now, I don't condone nobody getting no whoopings on video, because I go back to what I said earlier again. How do you even keep your energy level at anger mode and be like, record this? Follow me around with the camera.
Or is it still recording?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I don't even have the mental capacity to tell somebody to record something like that. I'm just in your ass, and then we gonna talk about this later. I'm also from that ilk where what goes on in the locker room, stay in the locker room. I'm not into embarrassing people. You know what I'm saying? And
you're trying to get your point across.
Yeah, I'm getting my point across to you, and then when they don't need to know what I chastised you for. They don't need to know that you even got chastised. You know what I'm saying? That's me doing my job as a parent to make sure that when you get older, you don't become a monster in the area that you starting out in right now.
And why do you need all the viewers even to be a part of that teachable moment, the discipline, the dialogue? I mean,
you giving people an open mic to speak on your situation. And then the biggest thing that run me out hot about this is they'll end up saying, why you all in my business?
Right. Right. I've seen some interesting things when you were talking. Out of curiosity, I am still baffled with the suicide part of it. I Googled and it said that the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention states that overall there is an average of 123 suicides a day. For the very young, it is 1 every 5 days. And these numbers don't fully reflect reality because failed attempts are not reported and some completed acts may be seen as mere accidents.
So that means it was more actually happening. They just wasn't recorded.
And they said that the children are more likely to kill themselves by hanging, strangling, and suffocation. Guns are the second most common method used. They were saying that they've experienced feelings of depression, hopelessness, attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder was a factor in 60% of the suicide attempts and completions, while 33% had depression due to a similarity of symptoms. Bipolar disorder. I'm just looking at this because just us having this dialogue now, because remember guys, this is like straight off the rip. We are having open dialogue. So this would happen with no mics on, where Lou and I would have this conversation and I would start Googling and I'm like, Lou, did you know? So for our new listeners, that's why I'm reading these facts and looking, because we don't pre-plan. The topic will come. We plan for this throughout the week and it's like, turn the mics on, let's talk about it. And we want to share with you. It's open dialogue for you to insert yourself via Gmail, which we give in the end to keep the conversation going. But that's why it's happening this way. If you're kind of just like, why are you guys are delving into this? Because this is shocking to me.
To have depression disorders at 4 and 5 years old,
why?
Brings up my thought process of, okay, I know with these mollies that be getting popped, these pills, the drinking, the smoking and stuff like that, I wonder if any of that stuff has anything to do with when these kids are born. That's why they have these depression states and they don't even understand why they have it, because it's not even their fault. They're just born with it. And I'm not the judge and the executioner, but I can remember myself at 5 years old and it wasn't nothing depressed about my 5-year-old state, even if I had a rough upbringing. We go outside. You can be in a bad neighborhood. You can be in a great neighborhood. You can see your parents squabbling in a verbal battle, and you will still be able at some point to go outside and be having fun. You won't think about none of that stuff because you just thinking about having fun. And so I can't wrap my mind around somebody that young having depression breakdowns in that capacity. It doesn't make sense.
The conversation we had the other day, just, in transparency here, it's like, what are you mad about? What is that overwhelming at that age? And that's why I totally agree with you, what you said, exposure, because if it's not happening in your house, how's it getting in there? It's gotta be them going into other people's worlds or their lives or homes or experience, and that exposure. Because if your child is coming in, or a child, it's like they have a pretty decent family. Their setup is pretty good where they're provided for, there's open dialogue, they don't want for anything. And I'm not talking about spoiling, I'm talking about active parenting where their needs are being met in a mental capacity, emotional. They have open forum where they can go and voice their thoughts, communicate. You think this need is being met, but I need this, or I'm interested in that. That's just the surface of it. There are things I probably may not have mentioned that allude to more that kid is in a good space or in that family. What are you depressed about? What's going on? So it kind of slips in on you because you don't even expect it, because you're doing your part. But like you said, what you on social media? Like, you got a phone with parental controls. I've seen 5-year-olds with iPhones.
And they work them well.
Better than me. I mean, they're coming up in the age of technology. But why, again, do you have access to all of that? What are you doing with it? If it's a matter of you are watching different types of learning programs and the cartoons where it implements some learning, that's what it's set to. And we can pull the iPad out and put that on, set it up for you. And it's not the babysitter. It's like we have this time allotted for it. Let's move you over to something else. Let's work some other type of skills. I'm a fan of Legos and building blocks. I want to see what you like. Do you like to deal with clay, or do you like to make music? I had a xylophone. I know that it is a team effort. No man is an island. Like, we need the whole village. But if you don't even have a village and you can't find the time, hopefully there's some programs available, affordable, sliding scale, or absolutely free. I just thought about, even in saying that, it's still more phones, more exposure, because you can put your kid with other kids that have phones and they don't have the parents with the parental controls. And also now your kid is with another kid that's showing them, did you see this? Oh, that's crazy. You don't get this on your phone? Look. So it's all these little canned computers all around, and it's a bunch of them.
That's why I said you can't just put a Band-Aid on it with parental control and censorship.
You a parent, you going up against the masses and you're losing. Hard. Because you're still, so what you gonna do, homeschool, and then after you homeschool, they still, whoever they interact with, you praying. Like, oh, man, please let them come from the same type of background where they rubbing off on each other, but in a positive way. Where even if somebody is on some bull, like, we should even be looking, let's not, this ain't no kid. Because you've been conditioning them from when they were little to not even have a desire for that. Curiosity, I'm not just taking that off the table completely, because you're still gonna explore. Do you remember Showtime when you could hear the dirty movie, but it was fuzzy?
I had to hit the TV to make it straighten up for a couple seconds.
But you could see the blur. You knew something bad was going on, like, ooh, and you was sitting there, but you could see figures, and then, but you knew if you heard somebody, cut it off. Cut that off. Ooh, or something with a bunch of profanity. Ooh, cut it off. They're gonna hear us. You knew you weren't supposed to do it. So there's stuff naturally, I think, that kids is like, what you, or if you tell your kid, you leave up out of here. I remember Josiah and Jair said that, what was I watching? Oh, Let the Right One In. So Let the Right One In is a movie about a little girl. She forges this friendship. It's actually a foreign film, the original one. And she creates this friendship with a little boy that's an outcast at the school. Some kids that kind of made fun of him because he was quiet, and she befriended him. But come to find out, creepy. It's a horror movie, by the way. She's a vampire, and she can't come into the boy's house unless he invites her in. And if she tries to come in anyway, it hurts her. And they have this friendship, and she protects them, so on and so forth. Well, I knew that the kids were not watching this. Like, it was not happening. I'm like, you guys can go outside and play, but they, kids, what you doing? You about to watch a movie? Yeah, you're going to go play. And I was watching this movie in the daytime. Fast forward later, man, we were sitting on top of the car trying to peek through the window. Can you see it? Can you see it? I can see it. Mind you, they can't hear it. They can just see the little girl. They like, we gonna force our way in here. What is it that we can't see? And because it wasn't even like a gory film, I think just the whole tone of the movie, that this little girl was a vampire, that was the horror part of it. So they kind of got bored at some point. It's like, ain't nothing even happening on this movie. It wasn't any nudity, none of that stuff. And it was a slow build up. The storyline was very slow. Like, they kind of kept you guessing, like, why is this girl like watching these boys that were mean to him? So it was slow. So for them, they gave up. But the fact that they went the distance to stand on the car and try to, can you see anything? Can you see anything? Like, that's crazy. So that part I know that kids naturally will do. I did it. You did it. I'm sure any listening, you guys did it. It's that other stuff. They don't have to work that hard.
Oh, no.
Like you said, it's right at their fingertips.
Type it in the search engine.
And if you keep it from them, they friends have phones. They can get it. Don't forget about the kids. It's important. And they say, I believe the children are our future. Where? They getting towed up before they can even get there.
Yeah, and by the time, if they even make it to adulthood, they having to reprogram themselves for the next 10, 15 years.
They toe up. Yeah. So here's the thing. If the statement, I believe the children are our future, and let's just say, okay, I agree with that. They are. What's the future looking like? With the clothes? I almost said the brand. Like, what is this? What is the clothes?
Yeah, that shit, man. Y'all need y'all ass whooped for real.
The mindset, them being disciplined and recorded, they got so much resentment. And then the depression, and then this whole suicide. They don't even make it to be the future. They don't make it to adults to be our future. Wow. At this point, it's just, wow. Yeah. But, be a part of the solution, not the problem. And once you know something or you have some information, my belief is there's some accountability.
Oh, yeah.
So do something. If you were privy to this conversation, try to find some way to help with this apparent issue. Because it's not so much like it's a problem. It's an issue. And it's going unnoticed for, in some areas. And obviously others, like with the suicide, that's not unnoticed. That's just devastating. Yeah.
Well, I was going to do this at the beginning because this is kind of what my mindset was today. So I'll start doing this from here on out. And more than likely, it'll be at the beginning and not the end. But I just want to leave you guys with this quote that I saw in my feed that I posted a while back. And it says, "The way you carry yourself will often determine how you are treated. In the long run, appearing vulgar or common will make people disrespect you. For a king respects himself and inspires the same sentiment in others. By acting regally and confident of your own powers, you make yourself seem destined to wear a crown."
Food for thought. You do the dishes.
So that's what my mind was today. I thought I'd share that quote with you. So that was it.
Yeah. If you want to keep this conversation going, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggested topics, you can always shoot us an email at realfitradio@gmail.com. As always, we hope this inspired, impacted, or empowered someone. Until next time.